Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to another Monday Morning Art Talk. Whippy! Alright guys, so today first of all I just want to say Happy New Year, and what I want to do today is something very special. I got a special guest to me today, and I'm going to introduce him to you guys, and really it's all about goal setting. And just to discuss that, because it's the new year, I don't believe that you should just set goals on the new year or New Year's resolutions and say that, okay, now I'm setting everything up for my whole year. I think you set up goals constantly all throughout the year, and I thought this was great. I got one of my best friends in the whole world, and we'll talk about it, who's staying, his family's staying with me this weekend. I thought, God, it'd be great just to have conversation and talk about things that we did when we were younger. We've known each other for a long time and been drawing for a long time, and he lives in San Diego right now, and I live out in Los Angeles. But without further ado, I want to introduce you to one of my best friends. His name is Stephen Fishwick, spelled S-T-E-P-H-E-N, and Fishwick, F-I-S-H-W-I-C-K. I'm going to put his link right down below. It's stephenfishwick.com. You can check out his art and his business, and he's involved in licensing and a lot of great things, and it's all been created, self-created, and just the willing and want to do something. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to my buddy, Stephen Fishwick. Stephen, come on over here. All right. So this is my good buddy, Stephen Fishwick, and I just want to kind of let you guys know how we got started and how we got introduced to each other.
It was when I took over SeaWorld.
Right, so I used to work, my very first job was working at SeaWorld in San Diego when I first started doing caricatures, and I didn't know Steve at the time. I had left that, and then
Then I took over for that company. I worked for Commons Art Shops,
which is a caricature company, and just want to let you know, Commons Art Shops hires caricature artists all the time throughout the year, and you can go onto their website, I believe, and if you're interested in doing that. But,
it's an excellent job. Yeah. Honestly, both of us would attest to that's what made us artists. Yeah. We're 19, 20, didn't know how to become artists.
Right, right. This was where it started, and so I'll just tell you how I met Steve. So Steve was living in Ohio. He was the manager for this company, Commons, and he ended up coming and taking over the operation in SeaWorld in San Diego. And I had a caricature concession stand in a casino in San Diego called Verona Casino. And I needed help. I needed an artist. So I went over to a shopping mall called Horton Plaza, and I was looking for a caricature artist, and I met his roommate, this guy Rob, who was working there.
Yeah.
And I said, hey,
I had a booth there.
You had a booth there during the Christmas season, and I went over there, and he was working that day, and said, hey, I need help. Would you be interested in working? I need someone to fill in. He said, I can't, but my roommate can probably do it. His name's Stephen Fishwick. Never met the guy in my life. And then...
Well, I had met you once because you had came into SeaWorld. Right. And I didn't have time for you, and you didn't have time for me. And then I go out to Verona Casino. He's like, come by the booth, I'll show it to you. And I show up, and I'm like, holy shit, this guy knows how to draw. Which wasn't the norm. Right. And so all of a sudden, you know, I'm like, how old are you? And he was 23, and I think I was 26. And he's so good. And so all of a sudden it's like, we became fast friends from that moment on, really.
Yeah, it really kind of happened pretty quickly. Like, he was so, because, you know, he was into the art, and again, we're hungry, wanting to grow, and we just hit it off, just straight off the bat. The energy was there. He was like, yeah, I'm in, and he started helping me out there, and then I started going over to his apartment, and we just started hanging out.
Sketching all the time.
Sketching all the time, and then I remember there was a time where, and I've mentioned it to you guys before with figure drawing, we wanted figure drawing, and we would hire models to come to the house, and everyone would chip in some money, and we'd be sketching from there. And one of the greatest things that happened was,
and this is back when we didn't know what we wanted to do. We just wanted to be working as artists.
Yeah, we just wanted to be working as artists. There was no real plan other than just get good. That was the
I remember when we were sitting at a coffee shop drawing, and you said, I think I want to get into animation, which hadn't even crossed your mind at that point. Yeah. But you had visited, or you had gone to a Cartoonist Society meeting where the Super Freak.
Freakazoid
guy gave a speech. Yeah. Was that Bob? Who was
that? No, that was another guy named Tom. I can't remember his last name. He was a storyboard artist on Freakazoid, and he did a talk about, he was storyboarding, and
Yeah. And so you put together a portfolio, drove it up to LA.
Yeah.
And we were just about to move into a condo you bought.
Right, yeah.
And all of a sudden you're like, I'm moving to LA. And I'm like, we're moving in next week. And so his twin brother.
Yeah, my twin brother and him ended up moving in a place that I ended up getting. But we were drawing just all the time. Again, our mission was, we just wanted to start getting better at drawing, and you were taking a figure drawing class with Jeff Watts out in San Diego, who's a terrific draftsman and artist. And I wasn't taking life drawing at the time or anything, and you introduced me to that, and I went and showed up. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. And I think I only studied with Jeff maybe one semester. However many weeks that was, like 9 weeks. You showed up once a week on a Saturday, drew for 3 hours, the figure drawing. But we kept always it was that system of, hey, let's go sketching. Oh, I'm tired. I don't want to. No, dude, let's go. And we'd show up and we'd get groups of people and constantly motivating each other just to go sketch.
It was always about drawing.
Yeah.
I remember, I make a living now just painting.
Yeah.
But then I don't think I ever painted at all. It was learning how to draw well.
That was it. That's all the focus was. And so Steve ended up just sticking, doing the caricatures and doing all that and managing. And I ended up moving to LA. This was back in 1997, maybe before some of you guys were born. Yeah. And moved to Los Angeles. And then what happened? Yeah.
So I became a regional manager for Commons Art Shop. So I was at SeaWorld when I started. But over the course of the next 10 years, roughly 10 years, I became the regional manager. So all of a sudden I wasn't drawing as much. I was hiring and training people to hire and train the artists. And it was in 2003 that we were over here talking, and I said, I don't do art at all. I was drawing in my sketchbook on the side. I was teaching at Watts School 1 semester a year. But one of the employees who was introduced to me said, oh, we heard that you used to be an artist. And my heart dropped. I'm like, I went home. I had a wife with 2 kids at the time. And I told my wife, I've got to quit my job. I don't want to be 50 someday and wish I had been an artist. Because I was managing payroll, inventory, people. I wasn't doing art for my career at all. And so we were talking, and you said, this was 2003, you said, write a goal for yourself on your computer. It says, at the end of this year, I'll quit my job. And I did. I posted a little post-it note. So I started locking myself in my garage from 9 to midnight. I'd get the kids down by 8. I'd go to 7-Eleven, get a gigantic coffee, and I'd go in my garage, because I had a full-time job. So I'd go into my garage from 9 to midnight, 5 days a week. But 9 to midnight turned into 9 to 2 a.m. to 3 a.m. And before you knew it, I was working 40 hours a week on a career I did not have, trying to build a website, trying to build a portfolio. I remember online was really just starting then. And so I didn't have time to paint, but I had time to sketch. And so I'd sketch these fully rendered little drawings, take a picture of them, and that was my website. So I was creating tons of artwork, but it was really only this small, but online it looked, who knows how.
Yeah.
And so I built a whole portfolio with these little drawings, and it took 6 years to quit my job because I honestly had to have an income that equaled, you know, over 100K just to survive.
Timing.
But it became, I was working a 60-hour work week at work, and I was easily working in another 60 hours just trying to create a living in art.
And then what happened?
That was 2003, and in 2009 I quit my job, and now I do full-time art. I travel the world painting and drawing.
Just went full-time, just started doing his own thing. So it's like you decided that, because I remember you when you were talking about it, you were wanting to get into your art, and you decided, you know, I'm going to start doing this sort of painting and this art. I'm going to start going to...
well, no, an event planner. So I would do caricatures at parties, and an event planner said, hey, can you paint a giant painting on stage to music? I said, I don't know, I could. And they said, well, we'll pay you if you can.
Yeah.
And so I commandeered our garage. I got paint all over the laundry. It took about 8 months to figure out how to do a painting in 10 minutes or less, and started to get hired immediately. The first painting I ever did that was for a corporation was for Honda. In 2006, they invented a robot that could run.
Oh, okay.
Osimo. And so they had me paint Osimo at their Christmas party. And so all of a sudden it was like I needed to build a website. I needed to hire a company to film me performing. I had to think in advance. Like if I had been doing this for 15 years, what would I have? I'd have a logo. I'd have a website. I'd have video of me doing it. So I faked it until I made it. I was given the gym in our church, and I basically put on a show, and the videographers, there were 6 people sitting in the audience, my friends, and they created a video. It looked like I was doing this big time.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
So I had 6 paintings I could paint, and now I have hundreds of paintings, and I'll be in Disney Epcot for a month in January, February, performing live in Disney World. So it was something I couldn't see where I was going to be landing. You don't know what the outcome is, but I knew where I wanted to be going.
Yeah.
And so it was thinking, okay, well, I would need this. I would need that.
Yeah, I think that's a cool way to think about it. It's just like what you just said. It's like thinking, if I was a real legitimate company and this was going, what would I actually need? You know, so it's almost like you're projecting yourself almost like 5 years in the future. Well, I would have a logo, and I would have a website, I would have a video, and that's great.
And so, you know, if you would went on my website day one, it looked like I've been doing this for corporate events for years.
Yeah.
And though I'm getting out of the corporate events, I do a lot more licensing, working with like Jimi Hendrix and Bob Marley and Elvis and, you know, some of the...
So I just wanted to tap into that. So that's something where you've sort of jumped into. So you're...
Well, we did that. We were sitting around in a coffee shop and said, you were designing, I think, Kim Possible at the time.
Okay.
So I think it was in 2010 or 12. You and I were sitting in a coffee shop, and you had just finished Kim Possible or something like that, and you said, we need to figure out licensing because you're building all these properties for companies that are making billions on licensing.
Right, yeah.
And so we Googled licensing, found a licensing show in Las Vegas, and we both went out there and stomped around that show for a week, asking a million questions. And that's how I got into licensing, was from that show.
That's crazy.
I created a one sheet with my name and couple paintings on it. I printed 40 of them at Kinko's and handed all 40 out. And I remember when we left, not thinking we were ever gonna go again.
Right.
And it took 6 months, and someone called me. One person called me from that, and it was an artist or a company that represents artists for licensing. And he said, "We've been looking at your stuff for the last 6 months. We'd like to talk to you about signing you." And I've been with that company for 7 years now.
Just motion, just the idea, just taking action.
Yeah.
You know, I think that's what we've always done. It's just like we're just kind of taking action, and now you're been doing the licensing, and you're representing just a lot of brands like Jimi Hendrix and all these other just people, and just every year you're going to the licensing expo, you're meeting new people, and you just, because
now I get to see my artwork all over the world. Yeah. There's people who will text me or email me something. They're like, we just saw your painting on a TV show. Yeah. Or whatnot. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Again, it's like something it just came from, it's just like, we never know where any of this is going to go. Yeah. We just don't know. All we know is that as long as we're actively doing something and just working on it, and sometimes, you wish it would happen quicker, or it leads you
a different path that's better than the one you thought you were going in.
Right. So it's like when they say, when one door closes, another door is going to open. It's like a constant
and just trusting that some doors are going to open along the way.
As long as you're actively doing something, and as long as you're actively trying to improve upon your skill, which is something, again, like your head, right? It's like today.
I still am taking, I just took a watercolor workshop.
Oh, did you? Yeah.
And I don't even paint in watercolor, but this guy was so good. I'm like, I got it. And his watercolor paintings has translated into my oil paintings because he is so good. He had a lot to say, even though it was watercolor.
Right, you pick up something just a little bit.
You pick up, it's the stuff of spontaneity that lacks in a lot of artwork that when you see it, it's like looking at a Frazetta painting versus a Vallejo painting.
Right, Boris Vallejo. Yeah.
Boris Vallejos are stiff, but Frazettas are flowing and moving.
Yeah.
And Boris, the famous Boris Vallejo, knew that his paintings were lacking.
Right.
And Boris Vallejo found out where they were teaching Frazetta artwork and went and took a class there.
Wow. Yeah. No.
Because he wanted it. Yeah. You know? It's a constant study of getting better. And there's I follow 3,500 artists on Instagram, and that's where if I can't get inspired, I go on there, and within an hour, I'm like, I'm ready to go draw.
Right, yeah,
you know, because these guys are so good. There's so many good artists out there.
And because you're always going to pick up something, whenever you're feeling, I think, just down. It's not so much down, it's just you feel uninspired. You're just like, I don't know what to draw, I don't know what to do. All it can take is you see someone's image, and it could be like, that guy's just drawing
stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, you've drawn the coolest face, or look at that ink line, or look at that watercolor, whatever it may be, and that just becomes the stimulus to take you to that next thing. So you went from doing the caricatures, you were doing all this, and then you moved into the licensing and the painting, and just always, you've always been going. You're just like hustling it and just moving and meeting people. Another thing too is just, I think, what happened with your experience, just even with management, is taught you a lot of how to just handle and work with other people. It built up your confidence.
Building relationships. Yeah, there's people who you're meeting today that will get you a job in a year or two because they think, oh, I remember that guy. That guy can do this. I didn't need it a year and a half ago, but now I do, and it's something big. And how many people have you come across from one job to the next job, just building a reputation for yourself?
Constant. It's like you cannot just be too timid. You can't be quiet. You can't just sit in your own little cubicle and hidden away from everyone. Again, it's all these experiences. Like, I was just talking to a girl through my Skype mentorship that I do, and she was frustrated because her parents didn't want her to become an artist. The usual scenario. You can't make a living at this, so she got involved in marketing. And so she's been doing marketing for all these years and not liking it, not enjoying it. But I'm like, that's the greatest gift, thing that you can have, is to have all this marketing experience that now you can take. Now you're deciding you want to get into art. You're doing this. You bring all this marketing expertise, which most artists don't have any knowledge of, that now you can start building up your brand and start setting these new goals for yourself.
Every time I lecture at a college, because it's always to artists. I always tell them, get yourself into business classes, because you got to learn how to make a living from this, and that's what studios know how to do. Well, what's it look like when artists know how to do it? It looks like Pixar. It looks like the successful art companies we know that are driven by art and creativity. not a suit.
Right, exactly, and that's why we see the you guys see like guys like Tonka House and these guys. All of a sudden they're just like something. It's like, why? Because they made something out of nothing. They built a business foundation and a frame, which works. And I think that's what we're like constantly doing. So what sort of things are you wanting to pursue now?
Well, I'm 48 now. And over the last
so old.
Oh my God! Last 2 decades, I've learned that I have to look forward constantly. Mm-hmm. So my kids are in their teens now. I'm thinking, well, what do I want the next decade to look like? Yeah. This last decade, I spent a decade figuring out.
Right.
I want to be traveling with my wife to the Caribbean.
Right, yeah.
So I'm starting to learn how to paint sunsets and beach scenes, which I love doing anyway.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's very different than painting Elvis Presley or whoever.
Right. Jimi Hendrix or Albert Einstein.
Yes, I just had a show at a Wyland Gallery in Orlando, and I put in 6 sunset paintings, and they all sold.
Nice.
So... But it may take 10 more years to get into the gallery scene that I want. But that's what I'm thinking is, where do I want to be in 10 years?
But you're preparing for that. It's like all you're doing again is you're planting the seed.
Yeah.
You're planting the seed knowing that it's going to take years to nurture it, and you're going to keep actively
And I think I would have been wiser 20 years ago to have realized that it isn't going to take a year.
Right.
That it's going to take 20.
Right.
Now I feel wise enough to know that the failures I'm currently having aren't going to be there forever.
Yeah.
So if I fail or somebody closes the door in my face, I move on quickly. I don't dwell on it. I don't let it get me down.
Right.
I just move past it. That person wasn't the right company or people to be in business with for what I want to do. But I keep searching for the next.
And we have these conversations all the time. Because it happens in the animation world, but I know it's happened with you all the time, where you get these clients and these people who you think, this is good. Wow, something's gonna happen. You start like, oh my God, I got someone contacting me, and this might happen, and we get all excited about it, and there's constant disappointment over and over and over again that these things don't happen.
Well, my partner, Bo Hufford, you should look him up, Beau Hufford.
I'll put his link down.
He and I have a saying, when we come out of a meeting, we'll meet with like Discovery Channel, and they're falling all over us. You guys are going to be the biggest thing. Yeah. And we'll say, my wife will say, how'd your meeting go? And we'll both go, it went so good, we'll pass. Because that's what happens. If the meeting is so good, that ain't gonna work out.
Right.
I want the person to come in and say, we might be able to do something with you, we don't know, but we're gonna put some time and energy into it, and we'll see where it goes. To me, that's a good meeting.
Right.
If somebody says, you're gonna be rich!
Yeah.
I'm never gonna hear from you again.
We're gonna take it to the next level, and I've had so many of those too, and it's just like these constant, these big promises, which, again, when you're dependent on other people, this is the problem. When you're relying upon other people to take you places,
that's where all those cliches of don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Absolutely.
Get things to, it's putting it, it's not stopping when you feel you've got something going.
Right.
Keep looking, keep striving, keep practicing.
Yeah. Even though you think that this may go down, that's great. If it does, if something works out and you got these, hey, mate, in a couple weeks they're going to contact you, and I'll know in a couple weeks, I'll know in a day, and all of a sudden it keeps getting dragged longer and longer, and it's still not happening. But you just know, hey, you know what? As long as I keep putting myself in motion, as long as
they'll catch up to you.
That's basically it.
You trying to keep up with them.
Exactly.
Because they fall behind all the time.
And there's just too many things that can go wrong. They're dealing with so many other people and all these things. It's almost like if you were investing in the stock market and you're with a company and you think something's going to happen, but you know how many layers of people, the mechanics to make that even think about like a car. It's just like you can have all these moving pieces. Every single one of those pieces have to be working.
Yes.
And if they're not, in that one spark plug amongst all those other things,
and it could be one person who says, I don't think we're going to move in that direction.
Done. And it
reminds me of the Seinfeld, where they're pitching their show. It's getting picked up. Everyone loves it. They switch CEOs. We're canceling the show. It's that quickly. goes to nothing.
Oh, yeah. Well, man, this is, I mean, preaching to the choir in the animation industry within pitching shows. Yeah, that's the exact same thing. That's what it is. And even, I remember when we were doing Kim Possible, and that show was doing well, but all the executives that were on the show had been fired, and a new bunch of executives came on. And Phineas and Ferb was floating around, had been floating around for 16 years, talking about not giving up. They were pitching that for 16 years. But all these executives were just like, hey, we're going to pick this up. We're not going to pick up Kim Possible again, because they wanted their own baby, their own thing. So it was dead in the water, just based on other people. So that's the thing. We can never rely on these other people. And that's why, I don't... No, I probably...
Well, the people who I see it impact the most in a negative way are the younger people who haven't had that experience of being screwed or just being let down.
Yeah.
They think, this is my ticket. Yeah. That ticket doesn't work out for whatever reason. They rarely work out. And then they let that stifle them, and they get stuck in a spot. Yeah. It's like, we all get stuck in that spot. You got to force your way out or stay stuck.
Right. That's the only option you have. And the bottom line is, you want to just kind of, that's why you just got to keep moving, keep setting goals. And again, just don't rely on just anyone ever. I think this is where part of the creation for ourselves is just, even with this new year, just to say, what do we want to accomplish this year? What's this upcoming year going to look like? So write it down. Let's get a plan. Let's start writing things down.
Whether it's writing or leaving yourself notes in your phone, however you work, I still write in my sketchbook. Yeah. And I write in my sketchbook because I'm in my sketchbooks all the time. Yeah. But I write those goals. I transfer the goal to the next sketchbook if that sketchbook's full, and it's constantly going back to that goal. Am I still on that goal? Have I changed the goal? And treating it like it's a full-time job. Right. Even if no one's paying you. Yeah. Treat this art like it's a full-time life adventure. Yeah. Yeah. I have a friend of mine who's a painter. She's amazing, and her husband's a painter. The Goldmans, Stephanie and Ken Goldman. She just turned 60, and she was telling me, she said, I feel like my life's been a complete failure in art, because she hasn't had those major galleries. She hasn't had, but she paints and draws every day. She has nothing else in her life other than that. They get side jobs here and there. And I'm like, Stephanie, you can go do anything and have all these same struggles. Right. But you're painting. You're doing exactly. If you have 20 more years left and you're 80, you've lived a fantastic life, just loving and producing art. Yeah. And so all of a sudden she was like, people look at me all the time and say, I want to get to your level. It's like, my level, I'm struggling all the time. I'm like, I'll get a $60,000 paycheck and maybe not get anything else the rest of the year. It's like, that didn't help when you spread it over 12 months. It's like, we have good years, we have bad years, and every artist has them. But man, I'm going into my studio every day painting. Yeah. And I paint 7 days a week now, because I have a studio at home and up at Lexus. So my life is, kids are gone for an hour. I get to run out and paint. Yeah, yeah. I love it.
I mean, there was someone that asked me a question the other day. They said, at what point did you really feel that you became successful as an artist? It's like, is this fame and success, that whatever they were sort of putting it? And I said, I never look at anything that I've done really as, how I determine success is the mere fact that I'm 45 years old now, that I have been able to support my family just doing art. Yeah. Because I've done so many different things, from my characters to my books to so many different things, that I'm just freaking so happy. Yeah. It doesn't matter what some years you had good years, some years you had bad years. The fact that, man, we've been able to do what we want to do. And we go back to when we first met, 23 years old, when I was 23. Yeah. And now I'm 45, and that desire to go, I just want to make a living as an artist. That's all you care about. And I can honestly say, any any artist who, I don't think any artist should ever get into this for money. You don't get into this and say, I'm gonna I'm gonna.
And there is good money, but
sure.
it's not always there.
No, it's not always there, but it's not the drive. You cannot have the drive. Like some people go, I'm gonna become an accountant, I'm gonna become a doctor because they make a good living. So
I can't even imagine doing something I don't want to do because it made money.
Right. I was at doing a talk for my kids' school, you know, 7th and 8th graders, and one of the questions that they all have to ask is, how much money do you make, right? This is part of what the teachers, you know, what's determined a good living. Hey, think about kids, when you're moving into this career in life, you got to think about, but this is what parents are telling them too.
This is societal.
Yeah, societal, to move into a job that's going to pay you well. So that's where parents freak out about, you know, the art and this whole art life, like you'll be a starving artist and all that. Yeah. You can't ever get into this for that.
And my parents, thankfully, always told me to never get something to fall back on. And it's probably because they both fell back on careers they weren't happy with. But they told my brothers and I, find out what you really love to do and go do that. Spend your life doing that. Yeah. And my younger brother is a flamenco guitar player.
Yeah, I remember.
He's an Irish flamenco guitar player. Yeah. And that's what he does full time. He doesn't do anything else. He lives within the means that he can be a flamenco guitar player. And he loves his life. Yeah. It's important. You're going to struggle in whatever career you do. Everything. Struggle in a career you love. Right. Don't struggle in a career you hate.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it comes down to. It's like, why do I want to put myself in that situation and then live a life of regret? Yeah. You know, and come back. Because, you're going to go through that struggle anyway. But I think the most important thing, again, is like you can't just be sitting around dreaming or talking about, not actively. Just try, like even with your art, with your paintings. I remember when you were doing your paintings and before you even do a show, I don't know that you do it anymore, but I remember before you ever did a show in front of an audience, you would practice that painting about 2 or 3 times in your garage.
I did. And paint it 2 or 3 times. I would practice hundreds of times before I ever got the first job.
Right, but even when you were say all of a sudden you had to do a tiger, you know, and you had to do it in front of it. You would draw, you'd paint it like 2 or 3, 4 times before it ever showed, not just like thinking, I'm just going to do it once and show up. You are, and still today, it's always that constant
Well, and that's
rehearsal.
what I tell people. There's a secret to this whole thing. Practice. That's the only secret. There's no other secret.
Right. That's it. It's the practice and it's a perseverance and it's just like knowing what at least direction you want to go on. You don't
have to know where you're going to land, but you have to know that you want to be somewhere.
Right, yeah. You know that you got to, again, it's that narrative, it's that story. You just know that I'm deciding, you know what, I want to move into licensing. And deciding, okay, I want to move into licensing. So what did we do? We went to the show of all shows that deals with licensing to learn about
And we just sat and asked a million people a million questions. I had lunch with a woman who was licensing popsicles. She was looking for people or characters to put on popsicles. Yeah. But I didn't even know that job existed. I wanted to know about licensing. I learn more about it all the time. But
you can't, and that's what we're doing here. So it's just like, anyway, I think, this was awesome. So we were just kind of, shooting the stuff here, but just kind of wanting to just really, I think the bottom line behind this is just have an idea, set these goals, know that there's going to be hardships, be prepared for them, and just see what happens. I mean, we're going all the time, man. It's just
we're drawing right after.
Yeah, we're going to sketch right now afterwards, just again for the pure love of doing it. No one's paying us, no one's doing anything. We just kind of want to go and do it because it's what we do. You're born into this world. You can't explain why you want to do art. I feel like there's a calling within that you just gotta just pursue it and try it and don't give up so quickly. Again, these years of just like, knowing that in 5-6 years it might happen, that's fine. But again, and don't wait around and wait to be chosen by other people because it might happen, but it might not happen. And again, I've talked about it many times. I have so many friends that are in the studios right now and just want to get out. They made it. They fulfilled that little mission. And now it's just constantly moving. So that's what we're doing here, guys. But this is Stephen Fishwick. Check out his stuff. Again, made in the sense of just trying to make stuff happen and making deals and meeting with people, and his stuff's all over the place. I walk into the craziest stores all the time, home goods, it could be anywhere. I go, oh my God, there's Heidi.
We gotta go to Simi Valley where Bob's artwork's shown.
Yeah. A good friend of mine, Bob Doucette. You got to check out his work too. I'm going to put his link there too because you should check out his stuff. He's got a gallery in Simi Valley. But this is it. Just make stuff happen. Do it. Make it a great year. Keep setting those goals all throughout the year. It's not just a New Year's resolution, just this one time. Keep going. Enjoy it.
And start immediately.
Start immediately. Any finishing words, parting words?
At best, you have maybe 80, 90 years on the planet. What are you going to do with that? I'm going to paint and draw and do my best to love life.
That's it. That's it. Enjoy the process. All right, guys. Have a great time. Have a good, happy, safe New Year. Well, this will be after the New Year, but I'll see you guys next week. Take care. Hello, this is Steven, and I just wanted to tell you about this cool thing that I'm doing right now through my website at silvertunes.com. It's a Skype mentorship. In a sense, what I want to do is just talk to you, meet you, tell me about things that are happening in your life, see if there's anything that I could do to help you. I can look over your artwork, do your portfolio, and just maybe try to push you in the right direction that you want to take your life and your journey, all right? So you can go to silvertunes.com, go to classes, click on mentorship, and you can learn all about it. We can try to arrange a time, set up a date. It doesn't matter where you live in the world. And I just wanted to make it just very affordable, just to open it up, because I love doing this. I love meeting people from all over the planet. It's a really cool thing, and with this technology, why not? So that's it. Thanks.